injection.
Check. Cryogenic life support systems online. Subterranean launch injectors ready. 97% nominal.
Rage is a first-person shooter developed by id Software and released for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 in 2011. Set sometime in the not-too-distant future after Earth has been hit by a large meteor, you play as an Ark survivor, someone incubated in an Ark which were bunkers hidden underneath the ground. You awaken from your Ark after a malfunction and have barely taken more than 5 steps before you're attacked by a bandit, and shortly after that saved by one of the locals named Dan Hager, voiced by John Goodman.
I'm Dan Hager, and you are one lucky son of a bitch.
In the prologue, you see the world for what it is. You've got all the survivors of the meteor banded together in small outposts throughout the wasteland. Now these are the good guys. Then you've got the people affected by the meteor, disfigured horribly and hostile to anything but themselves. These are the mutants. And then you've got several factions of bandits, cannibalistic, murderous scavengers that shoot first and ask questions later. And finally, there's a group called the Authority, which reside over the entire population as the last bastion of bureaucracy on the planet, and your character is of some interest to them, for reasons never fully divulged. Story-wise, that's really all there is to it. You're given free reign from the get-go to explore the wasteland at your leisure. Initially, you're just helping out the Hagar clan that saved you from the bandits in the game's opening, but you soon move to the town of Wellspring, before working for the underground resistance in another settlement known as the Subway, against the Authority for the game's finale. It's not original in the slightest, in fact it's very much influenced by other games like Borderlands and Fallout, as well as films like Mad Max, though it is an interesting game world and there's lots of unique characters you can interact with at each of the key areas in the game.
The word on the street is that you are someone who can get things done.
These areas are usually outposts or small settlements where you can pick up side missions, partake in minigames to earn extra cash, some of which are fun, others not so much, and also where you can sell and buy new gear. There's loads of weapons you can get your hands on, from machine guns, pistols, crossbows and rocket launchers, all with multiple ammo types, and there's no limit to the amount of weapons you can carry. Alternate ammo types might include armor piercing or explosive rounds, but other creative ammo types include mind control bolts for your crossbow, or electromagnetic rounds for your shotgun, most of which can be crafted in-game from components you find in the game world. Most of the better ammo types don't appear during missions, so you need to buy them from stores at each of the main areas, but you can also sell all the useless junk you find as well. If it can't be bought though, it can often be crafted instead. Now crafting does have quite a big part in the gameplay as well. You can craft bandages to heal yourself mid-fight, even though the game uses a regenerating health system. You can craft sentry bots or turrets to fight alongside you, and you're also able to craft wing sticks, which are one of the more useful items in the game. The wing stick is a bladed boomerang that you can throw out in a pinch, which will often finish an enemy off in a single hit, lodging into their skull for a gruesome kill. This thing is immensely satisfying, and the way it can knock an enemy off their feet with a well-timed shot looks awesome. In fact, the animation across the board in this game is just fantastic, especially during combat. Enemies react quite dynamically to getting shot at, tripping over or stumbling around, and it's amazing stuff. Instead of the cinematics, you get these unskippable conversations with NPCs, and all of these are animated specifically from start to finish. The little details with the way they move their hands or the subtle facial tics is like something you'd see in a Pixar or DreamWorks film, and it carries across to almost every interaction in the game.
Let me guess, you need a sponsor.
Driving plays a big part in the overall gameplay as well, primarily because you have to use vehicles to traverse the wastelands. You're able to get a few different vehicles in the game, starting off with a quad bike, then a buggy, to a larger armoured car called a Caprino, before finally getting the Monarch, which is like an armoured tank and can take a hell of a beating. These are mostly just a means of getting from A to B, but there's also a sort of minigame where you can race vehicles in 5 different leagues.
Willing to try your luck on the circuits?
In this mode, you race against the AI in multiple modes where you earn racing certificates that can be used to upgrade each vehicle, for a faster engine, more boost, better handling, etc. And there is a lot of fun to be had by upgrading your vehicle and its weapons, then taking it to the wasteland and obliterating all the bandits that try to attack you. The most basic mode is a simple time trial or standard racing mode where you try to beat the computer. Then there's also combat racing, which is the same, except now you're able to use weapons to your advantage. These modes are pretty easy, and once you've broken off from the main pack, you should win them quite comfortably. It's the last few modes that are a real pain in the arse. One of these is called the Rocket Rally, where you're in a large area and have to drive over these markers to score points. Now, this is one of the most idiotic, brain-dead, and downright annoying game modes I've ever seen. It sticks out by far as one of the worst elements in the game, and it's easily the most unenjoyable aspect. Aside from this, you can also earn racing certificates from destroying bandit vehicles in the Wasteland. Normally you get 1 or 2 certificates per kill, and there's even mini challenges when you drive into certain areas where you can kill 4 or 5 bandits for a quick cash bonus. It's a shame there's not really much to do in the Wasteland aside from driving to your next objective, but killing every bandit you see is enjoyable all the same. When you're not in a vehicle, you're going to be shooting things, and that's where the game feels more like a traditional first-person shooter. On that note, the shooting is competent, but the only issue is that it's just so repetitive. There's really only 2 enemy types in the entire game, a melee type that just runs at you with an axe or a blunt weapon, and an enemy with a gun that hangs back and shoots at you from cover. If you're fighting one or the other, you're fighting them in total abundance. The melee enemies, for instance, are usually mutants that come out of every nook and cranny in droves, and just run right up to you with sledgehammer subtlety, and it gets old very, very quick. During these types of missions, you can expect to fight hundreds of them, just one after the other as they spawn incessantly. Similarly, if it's guys with guns, you're just going to be moving from corridor to corridor, shooting the same looking enemy type over and over, as they periodically stick their head up from their little hidey hole to take a shot at you. Occasionally you'll fight a tougher armored guy who just requires some armor piercing rounds to put down, but this variety is really piss poor. I mean, this is made by the guys who created Doom and Quake, and you're telling me this is all they could come up with? There is a very basic stealth system on offer here as well, where you can crouch to reduce the noise you make and take enemies out silently with the crossbow or wing sticks. But once you're detected, it all goes to shit, and at best you'll only be able to take out a couple of bad guys before every prick knows your exact location and flocks right to you. You will just be fighting the same looking enemy several dozen times per mission. It doesn't matter that it's a different location, it is still the same thing, and it's just boring. It's boring, guys. The only other issue I have with this game is the visuals. Now, this is a fantastic looking game if you're looking at something from a distance. The id Tech 5 engine is more about the bigger picture than it is the minute details. Now, the engine uses something called mega textures, which in essence means that you'll never see the same texture used twice, and it does kind of work on that level. You can move through any of the environments in the game and it all looks different and unique. There's no corridors copied and pasted, but the resolution of the textures is just horrid. It's also prone to lots of texture pop-in, even if you've used some of the configuration file tweaks readily available online. It's a shame considering most of the other aspects of the presentation, the sound, the voice acting, and the music, my god, the music, is pretty much stellar across the board. There's a reason why only 2 other games have used this engine in the last 3 years. At the end of the day, Rage is a funny game, and I don't mean that in a ha-ha way. You know, it's a game that doesn't know where it stands. id Software kinda made a game that pleases, half the people most of the time, if that makes sense, and it doesn't really ever get past that point of mediocrity. There's a lot of great little details in it though, and it's got a good length to it. I mean, I think the first time I ever played it took me about 20 or so hours to get through, completing all the side missions along the way. And then there's also the added DLC, which is surprisingly good as well. But it's just weird that id Software are more following suit here than they are raising the bar. This is a storyline that feels very familiar with characters and enemy types you've all seen before. That doesn't make it bad, but it just means it's not going to really rock anyone's world.